You might have heard about Warner Bros.' choice to shelve and possibly trash the live-action and animated hybrid film Coyote vs. Acme, a movie that could bring classic Looney Tunes characters to the theaters, but it's not. It's likely being thrown into a fire for the sake of tax purposes. The belief from David Zaslav and other Warner Bros. Executives is that this film would cost more money to market and distribute than it would actually make, therefore being better to just cut the losses now. I'm not saying that Coyote vs. Acme was actually going to be good, or that it was going to be a hit in theaters at all. In fact, I could probably guarantee that it was going to lose money, regardless of the news or not. But this isn't the first time that Hollywood has decided to change a production or completely stop a production altogether, even when that movie is pretty much made. Warner Bros. Did this exact same thing to films about Scooby-Doo and Batgirl, and Disney's opted to turn a once advertised Moana series into a sequel film for theaters. They're also turning a fan favorite series, The Mandalorian, into a theatrical film. And these decisions might feel out of left field, and in a way they actually are. The Hollywood studio system is in new territory, because the days of Blu-rays and DVDs and other physical media have come and gone and have been replaced by streaming services like Max or Disney Plus or Netflix. And that's left the studios regrouping and reorganizing, because the once thought lucrative idea of streaming hasn't really paid off to their benefit. One sec here. Sorry, everybody.
Can you believe they gave me money for this? It's crazy, right? I was just like, I walked into the studio and I said, hey, are you looking for a new star? Because I felt like you needed me. Huh? Felt? You get it? Felt? Man, I'm so funny. I'm so funny.
Hey, can you guys turn that down? I'm trying to make a video over here. Oh, sorry. Didn't know you could hear us.
Hey, since you're here, don't you know this guy, Josh?
They tried to give me a 3 special deal for $20 million. And you know what I said? He said, I have to talk to my lawyer about this because I don't have any legs to stand on. You get it? No legs because I'm a puppet? I don't have any legs because I'm a puppet? I'm a puppet?
They get Barry a stand-up special? Nobody told me this? How did he get this?
I don't know, it seems like they'll give anyone a show on these streaming services. But you know Barry, right? I mean, you should watch.
No, just keep the volume down, guys, alright? I got a video to make.
And then what's the deal with Ovaltine? I mean, the can is round, the glass is round. Why don't they call it Roundtine? Huh? 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 Huh?
Okay. Thanks to the business model that Netflix built, over the course of the last decade, we've seen television and film change drastically. The reasoning behind what's getting made, how it's getting made, and why it's getting made are questions that are constantly changing, as the Hollywood system pulled the rug out from under themselves and have been left with no clear vision for the future. So my name's Josh Taylor, this is Modern Mouse, and today I want to talk about how we got to this point. What's working and what's not in the film and television industry, what we are feeling as the audience, and how Hollywood could possibly fix its own streaming problem.
There's a better way to rent movies. As many as you want for just $20 a month, and no late fees. Go to Netflix.com, make a list of the movies you want to see, and in about one business day, you'll get 3 DVDs. Keep them as long as you want, without late fees.
The way that the chairman of Netflix, Reed Hastings, tells it, Netflix began in 1998 because he didn't want to pay for late fees anymore, probably on some rental like Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. But the reality is probably closer to what Netflix co-founder Mark Randolph says. They wanted to be the Amazon of something, which explains how Netflix got its start as an internet-based DVD rental service. With over 240,000 subscribers by 1999, Netflix was delivering DVDs straight to your door for a relatively low monthly fee. This was going okay for Netflix until the dot-com bubble burst. It was at that point, at their lowest, the founders tried to sell Netflix to Blockbuster in 2000.
Look, there's no easy way to say this. 7 more blockbusters just closed. You're officially the last one on Earth.
I don't love the pattern that's starting to emerge. Hello?
Blockbuster just laughed and passed on the offer, demonstrating how smart and innovative they really thought that they were. And honestly, this coincides with the downfall of both Blockbuster and my own life. I mean, honestly, we all haven't been the same since our local video rental stores went away, right? In 2001, the DVD boom finally took off, and so did Netflix. Just 6 years after launching, they were sending out over 1 million DVDs a day. But no one thinks of Netflix as that DVD company. It's all about streaming. And streaming video over the internet was just beginning in 2005. YouTube was proving that it could be really popular. Netflix was already tinkering with streaming when YouTube launched, but it was working on its own little box, kind of like a proto-Roku. They assumed people would only watch movies and TV shows if they could play it on their TVs, but the way that people took in media was changing, with both the growth in desktop and laptop use. They would eventually be right, with most households having some way of accessing streaming on their TVs a little over a decade later, but they were ready to jump into streaming at that point then. And streaming looked nothing like it does today. In 2007, Netflix launched with a mere 1,000 titles and no original content. No one had quite yet predicted just how popular it would be to rewatch and binge your favorite TV shows. It wasn't long before they figured all of that out. The DVD mail company would undeniably become known as the media streaming company after 2009, when the amount of content it streamed finally outpaced its DVD rentals. And in just another 2 years, in 2011, Netflix would become the largest source of internet traffic in North America. It became a giant in the entertainment industry. They were securing multi-million-dollar deals with almost every major studio in Hollywood, sometimes with exclusive rights to their film and television product. They became the ultimate distribution company, and in 2011, they decided to also become a production company, creating their own original shows and films. This became a pivotal point in history, and a game changer. Right now, if you go onto Netflix, half of the titles you'll see are completely original in-house made productions. By 2013, they launched their first original shows, House of Cards and then Orange is the New Black. Not only were both shows very popular, but they also broke the mold for how episodes of television premiered. Unlike a weekly release schedule that was standard for terrestrial television, those shows dropped all of their episodes on the same day, allowing for viewers to binge watch something new for the first time. And another notable show for Netflix's first few years of original programming was the Arrested Development revival. Bringing the show back for a 4th and then 5th season on Netflix was one of many times where a cancelled show would find new life in streaming. Nowadays, the second anyone's favorite show gets the bad news, there's always this huge online movement to save it, but I digress. This was just the beginning of an era for Netflix defined by mega hits like Daredevil, The Crown, and Stranger Things. And it was more than just TV shows. The movies are just as important. Starting with 2015's Beasts of No Nation, Netflix began making movies almost as rapidly as they were making TV shows. In 2016 alone, they greenlit 126 original shows and films. That's more than any production house or TV network. And sure, there are some multi-film deals in there, like with Adam Sandler's production company, but they also started working with some of Hollywood's top directors, as a way to say that Netflix wasn't making some direct-to-home video type of films. Notable examples were Alfonso Cuarón's Roma in 2018, or Noah Baumbach's Marriage Story, or Martin Scorsese's The Irishman in 2019. Amazing films, all released under the Netflix banner, all leading to conversations about weird Oscar rules. The Academy of Motion Pictures originally deemed films needing to play in theaters in order to qualify for an Oscar nomination, but Netflix challenged that notion as something that was old-fashioned. And those directors were initially reluctant. Steven Spielberg called streaming a clear and present danger to moviegoers. However, the sentiment has changed, especially with the pandemic forcing everything out of theaters and onto streaming services.
Hey Josh, don't you think it's weird that Netflix doesn't put their movies out in theaters? I mean, there's gonna be like a ton of money to be made off of those theater ticket sales, right?
Yeah, Joe. I mean, Ted Sarandos has come out and said that the whole idea he wants around Netflix is to only be able to watch movies from your couch. But I can do a lot of things on my couch, so it doesn't seem like much of a flex.
Yeah, I don't know if we should talk about all the things you do on your couch on the channel.
Nothing bad, nothing gross. I'm just saying I can read a book on my couch or, like, endlessly scroll through TikTok.
Kind of sounds like you're admitting you have a bit of a TikTok problem there, pal.
Okay, I'm not saying that. I wouldn't admit that to the US government. But who doesn't love getting a few links from TikTok videos?
Yeah, I get a lot from you, like a lot, and too many of them have cats in them. I don't want to be on TikTok. You send me a lot.
I thought you loved those. Getting a bunch of TikTok links is a form of love and friendship.
Well, if that's the case, I think our friendship's about to get banned or sold or something. It's not looking good, man.
Okay, whatever. But from 2007 to 2019, Netflix basically dominated the streaming space. While Hulu and Amazon Prime existed, Netflix became a default term for streaming, similar to how people talk about Googling it rather than saying, I'm searching for something on the internet. It became part of the cultural zeitgeist to use and know a phrase like Netflix and chill. Nobody was talking about Hulu after curfew, alright? Nobody said the phrase Amazon Prime and slime. And nobody was talking about how you could come on over for a little bit of Criterion Collection and inspection. Okay, even that one, I heard it. Yeah, I think I went too far on that. But because of the rise of popularity in Netflix, a lot of the production studios in Hollywood thought that they could get in on the action. Rather than a distribution company like Netflix turning to make their own films and TV shows, the production companies like Disney, Paramount, and NBC Universal were looking to create their own streaming service for distribution. Distribution and production function differently, and oftentimes these two business practices are done by separate companies. You might be familiar with A24 or Neon or IFC. They take independent movies and they advertise them and set them up to show in theaters or on a streaming service. Those are distribution companies, whereas a production company is purely focused on the creation of films and television shows. Fun fact, in the golden age of Hollywood, the US Supreme Court actually made it illegal for production companies to own their own theaters or distribute their own movies, because it violated antitrust laws. Owning the movie theaters allowed production companies to monopolize the market and to price movie tickets at whatever they wanted to. Having the laws in place allowed for an open market and to keep the prices down. In 2020, that law got overturned because the Supreme Court believed that Hollywood could no longer create that kind of issue again. Unfortunately for us, they definitely could. Essentially, the system works as these production houses started creating their own streaming services, and we've seen constant price hikes because they can price whatever they want on their own films. So that's your fun fact for the day. When the studios moved into creating their own streaming services, they didn't realize that the Netflix model of being both the producer and distributor of their films and television shows was actually not a financially wise move. Skipping movie theater releases or decreasing the window of which a movie plays in theaters killed an entire revenue source that is responsible for much of how the movie industry functions. On top of that, we as consumers were sold on this idea to buy into a streaming service rather than to purchase DVDs or Blu-rays, also killing the physical media market. While it may have sounded like a great idea for a company like Disney or Warner Brothers to put all of their films and TV shows in one place, it actually created a lot of problems for these Hollywood film studios, namely the amount of subscribers that they'd need to keep pace with growth. Due to stock prices always needing to go up for publicly traded companies in order to be seen as successful, these giant Hollywood conglomerates needed to continue to always produce new things to either gain new subscribers for their platform or to jack up the prices so that they could be considered financially stable. Basically, to keep us from unsubscribing to their services, they needed to make more and more in film and television. And because they needed to make more, they also needed to start charging more. So the market, which started out as a pretty nice price, very quickly ended up being way overpriced. And I don't know about you, but for me personally, as I saw prices start to increase, I started to question which streaming services I was actually using and started canceling quite a few of them. And that's not the only problem that Hollywood is facing. There are actually a ton of symptoms to this.
I know I have a hand inside me, but you know what? You do too. It's what connects us to the real world, There's a whole world out there, but the hand, it keeps us grounded.
Man, this guy's great. He can do comedy and drama.
I know. Who knew a film called Put Your Felt on My Felt could be this good?
I bet this gets a lot of Oscar buzz this year.
Maybe, just this once, you could put your hand in my hand, and maybe we can connect with each other. Felt to felt. Really feel something. I love you, baby.
So you think Barry has a chance to win Best Actor?
Actor, writer, director. This guy's like Orson Welles. Put your felt on my felt. Basically Citizen Kane. This guy can do anything.
He makes some interesting choices for sure.
You're a little wooden. Not really giving me much to work with here,
One major issue with moving everything to streaming is that films and television used to be far more communal. The joy of going to a theater to see a comedy film was to laugh with everybody else, or to see a film so good that you had to stand out in the parking lot with your friends to talk about it afterwards. TV shows were something that you talked about at the water cooler week to week, because TV shows were made to last months at a time, not to binge watch all in one weekend. In terms of business, a show is far more practical going week to week, and it continues to build a loyal audience, rather than feeling like a much more passive experience when you binge it all in one weekend. I know earlier I stated that Netflix didn't want this, but movies directly released on streaming rather than being put into theaters gives off the same vibes as when Disney was making all those low-budget remakes, right? Seriously though, I know that these films being dropped on streaming services aren't poor quality B-movies, but the perception of them is that they aren't nearly as important as the movies being released in theaters. I know that the perception is changing thanks to Netflix pushing as hard as possible to make it happen, but personally, I still feel it. Because a majority of the straight-to-streaming films are mid-tier budget films and shows, often comedies or rom-coms or dramas, there's a further separation of genres. And I'm not saying that genres were all created equal in terms of their popularity, but because we don't see comedies in theaters, we tend to think of movies like big blockbuster action movies as something worthwhile to spend our time and money at the movie theaters on, while comedies have become second-rate, and comedians are not worth as much money as big action heroes. And this is all actually hurting both the studios and the movie theaters, as less movies are going into theaters, and the ones that are going into theaters need to have such large audiences to see them because the cost to produce them wasn't just a few $1,000,000, but instead a bloated budget worth hundreds of millions of dollars. With the addition of advertising and other costs, movies making less than $500 million at the box office are seen as failures. And the only movies typically making that type of money at the box office are sequels or franchise films that people feel safe spending money on. In terms of television, streaming has allowed this mindset that we need to watch everything all at once, rather than with the traditional week-to-week model, meaning there needs to be more television because we need more things to watch all the time. And rather than relying on solely original ideas, it's easier to go back and look at the things that worked in the past, but not showcasing them as reruns, but as reboots. For more on this, I want to hand it off to Joe for a segment that we like to call a Josin.
Let me start out by saying I am not anti-reboot, revival, or sequel. As a lifelong comic fan, you get pretty comfortable with the idea of wiping the slate clean and starting over for a new generation of stories. There are some absolutely amazing series revivals out there like DuckTales, Doctor Who, Cobra Kai, but the ones I don't understand are the ones that are too rooted in nostalgia for really anyone. I'm talking about reboots like Girl Meets World or Fuller House. When the original shows premiered, they were family entertainment, definitely skewed for a younger audience to some mixed results. Even as a kid, I found Full House to be just too damn pleased with how cute it thought it was. You can tell the writers were going full swing for young children and like the grandmas with too many cats demographic, and they crushed it. Meanwhile, I remember enjoying Boy Meets World. Either way, even if I liked both shows though, I am baffled by the revivals. With Girl Meets World, it takes place 15-ish years later. I get that the sequel is supposed to be similar to the original, a fun coming-of-age story, sitcom aimed towards middle schoolish age kids, but who is it really for? If you grew up with the show, you probably have aged out of the type of TV revival that it's going for. But if you're a kid, the original stopped airing before you were born, so you have no attachment to any of these characters. So when the writing is clearly trying to tap into adult nostalgia, but the tone is aimed at a younger audience, like, it's not really serving either one.
There is nothing you can do to make me walk inside that house. That was so evil!
What an awful idea is Fuller House. So the writers had this wild idea to make DJ a widow with 3 kids, just like her dad. This ridiculous way to completely do the premise of the original all over again. And nothing's changed. Only the actors have aged up. They go for this pitch perfect recreation of the show in ways that are just like really bizarre and uncomfortable. Like the same token characters show up just to say hi and deliver their catchphrases. And I can tell you right now, a mediocre catchphrase is not a joke, but they treat it like it is. The laugh track plays, everything like treats it like it's the most hilarious thing in the world. And it's just the worst. I hope you're happy, cat grandmas of the world. Oh.
Why aren't you hugging me back? Because you left me at the airport. How rude.
So with nostalgia shows and a constant stream of other shows and movies on any given platform at a time, how do studios advertise to the public fast enough so that they know about everything that's coming? The answer is they really don't. The most you'll see is one of those comprehensive coming soon this month videos that Disney Plus or Netflix will put out from time to time. Or if it's one of the films or TV shows that they really believe in, they'll have one of those banners at the top of the streaming service, but that usually only lasts for, at most, a week, and at the least, a day. Ultimately, this is deflating for the people making films and television shows. This is their art, but their art is being buried amongst 1,000 other titles. Just like any bad movie would be thrown into the cheap DVD bin at Walmart, where you'd have to sift through everything in order to find it. For us, as the viewers, it means that we don't know what most of the stuff on any platform actually is. We judge it entirely by the thumbnail and title that we see. Trust me, this is something I know about because I'm a creator on YouTube. It stresses me out knowing that the title and thumbnail of everything I do is really the only way to find new viewers for Modern Mouse, and because of that, I put a lot more time and effort into the title and thumbnail sometimes than I even do the video, which feels a bit backwards. And honestly, my entire online career here on YouTube rides on the fact that I'm actually creating a good title and thumbnail, because it's the most important part to the algorithm, not the actual art itself. But back to streaming services. Not only are the new releases competing with all of the other shows and movies, but they're competing with the algorithm. In order to actually get recommended to someone, you'll have to meet certain requirements for their specific tastes, which can be difficult. As the viewers, we're basically allowing AI to show us what we should be watching next. And for filmmakers and show writers, they're just hoping that the AI picks one of the things they made. I know that some streaming services have like that old video store staff pick kind of little shelf, but that's even more rare than actually finding a real-life video rental store.
I actually worked in a video store back in the day.
I remember that. Yeah, I was actually pretty jealous. I'm sure you got to see movies like Citizen Kane or Casablanca way earlier than I ever did.
Oh man, that sounds great. No, I wish I had that. No, I didn't watch a lot of movies. I watched a lot of movie. I saw Shrek, just the first one, on repeat every day.
Come on, you saw other movies, right? You probably saw like Sunset Boulevard or The Godfather or Psycho, all while getting paid.
No, just ogres are like onions. That was it.
Okay, but there was definitely something else playing on those video store TVs, right? Like, surely you got to watch something else.
No, it was just quotes like, "That'll do."
Pig, you watched Babe. It's a classic.
No. It was, "That'll do, donkey," because it was just Shrek. Only Shrek. Just the first one. Every day, forever.
Oh.
Well, you know what I like about you, Shrek? You got that kind of, I don't care what nobody thinks of me thing. I like that. I respect that, Shrek. You all right.
There's definitely a conversation to have about AI and generative AI and robots replacing humans in creative spaces, but I'm not even talking about that. Because what's still frightening that we don't really ever think about is how algorithms, like on Disney Plus or Netflix or YouTube or Hulu or Facebook, they're choosing what we do next, what we see next. And essentially, they're going to choose something that keeps us on the platform. And they're going to pigeonhole us into a specific type. These algorithms are going to steer clear away from challenging you or recommending something outside of your norm. But we as humans are more than just one thing. We have the capacity to be many things, and we should want to be many things. Well-rounded people, not just guy who likes superhero movies. And not only does it devalue the art, but it also dehumanizes us. Another symptom of streaming and the Netflix model is that it's trained us as an audience. Binge watching made us more impatient. We want to watch it all right now, and we want the next season as soon as possible. It doesn't help that social media has also added to this problem, moving us into a culture that scrolls through 30-second videos on TikTok for constant hits of dopamine. It sucks to feel like we've been trained that way, and while we can get rid of our short attention spans with a little bit of discipline, there's a much larger issue that we've also been trained to deal with, or not deal with, and that's advertising. The beauty of Netflix's streaming service when it launched is that I could watch anything I wanted, whenever I wanted, without commercials. And that became a staple of every paid streaming service. I pay in $10 a month, and then I can watch anything I want with no commercials. But the value of everybody's $10 combined still doesn't make up for the value that advertisers were willing to pay for time on television. And what Hollywood is finding out is that now they've trained us to no longer accept breaks in our films or TV shows. Even on YouTube, you're allowed to skip over the ad after a couple of seconds. And this all brings up a major question. What is art worth? For the studios, they've started to add these lower tiers, where they've started implementing in different advertisements periodically, but audiences have rejected it. Basically, people are choosing to either have the highest tier or not to have the streaming service at all. And I'll be honest, that includes me. And some are even choosing to cancel subscriptions to just rent the movies or TV shows they want, or even pirate them. And I'm not shaming you here, nor am I asking you to watch every single ad that pops up, because I skip over the ads, and I get annoyed when a purple mattress ad pops up in the middle of a video that I'm deeply into. I just wanted to point this all out because we as a larger society seem to be devaluing art, and I don't even think that we're doing it on purpose. I'll put the fault on the fact that the system was created by Hollywood and the other people in the film industry, and also the lack of really good advertising.
Man, what happened to good commercials? Like, I think people would be okay bringing back commercials if they were fun again.
Like the old Mac versus PC commercials with Justin Long where he played the cool Apple guy.
Yeah, those ones with John Hodgman, those are great. You know, or like Trix Bunny is great. Lucky the Leprechaun was unfortunately an Irish stereotype, but still fun. Still fun. Those guys are all basically Looney Tunes.
Yeah, that's true. Or like all of the old action figure commercials, or like the berries and cream guy. That was good.
What berries and cream guy?
Yeah, like for Starburst, like berries and cream. I'm a little guy likes berries and cream. It's great.
What does berries and cream have to do with Starburst? You really, I'm lost.
It was they added the flavor, like they had flavors of Starburst, and he sang, he did a little dance, and did berries and cream. I'm a little guy that likes berries and cream. It was great.
What?
Dude, I'll sing it for you, okay? Fine. He went, berries and cream, I'm a little lad who loves berries and cream. For Starburst.
No, I take it back. We should keep skipping commercials.
Listen, art has always struggled to be taken seriously as a profession worth paying for, and the systems that were put in place for television and film worked over the last century. People went to theaters and paid money to see movies. People sat through 15 minutes of commercials while watching their nightly shows. Now that people just aren't going to theaters as often, nor are they willing to sit through commercials while watching TV, money isn't rolling in, and the subscriber bases for streaming services have hit a ceiling.
These stocks, Netflix's stock down, 70% or so from its highs, 60%. And the discipline that the market is imposing on some of these streamers with the models changing, what that's going to mean for how much you and others get paid for content.
So what needs to change? How does Hollywood fix its own issues? And how do we as the audience help without giving an arm and a leg? Let's start with Hollywood first. Moving back to a non-binge cycle of television has actually worked for Disney Plus when they've added new shows like The Mandalorian or WandaVision. It showed that people would still be interested in a week-to-week model, and it actually helped those shows in the long run. Budgets for shows have gone up too, but that can also be offset by keeping people around longer as you extend the show and possibly turn them into bigger fans, giving way for merchandising and event opportunities. There's also the option to shoot things for less money. There's really no need for the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon to cost nearly $500 million. For films, I feel like the studios should all agree to terms on a 4-part deal, something that harkens back to the way things used to be. The first part is a theatrical release. More films should be put into theaters, and studios need to produce less movies overall. Putting smaller and mid-budget films like comedies and rom-coms back in theaters helps to offset the big budgets of large blockbusters. A movie like Talk to Me was a breakout hit and only cost $5 million to make. Its success is due to people loving horror movies and tapping into that primal idea of fear and overcoming it. The near $100 million that it made could have gone and offset some of the larger budget films that barely break even or even lose money. And the second tier, right after its theatrical release, is the exclusive rental market. This isn't digital downloads for $20 or $30, but a $3 to $5 rental that sustains for a longer period of time before the movie goes to a streaming service. I know that this already exists, but I think it should last for longer. And if a film plays for 2 or 3 months in theaters, the lifespan of a rental could extend its financial push. Not only is this good for us as the consumers who might not be interested in subscribing to a streaming service or may not want to pay $10, $15, $20 to go see it in theaters, but it also gives good metrics to the Hollywood studios, who can see how much people are willing to pay for each individual film. They may not see a rom-com in theaters, but as soon as it's available to rent, it could gain momentum. This also doesn't separate genres through algorithms, but instead dictates human behavior more efficiently. The next tier is the familiar streaming service drop, whether that's Netflix or Disney Plus, or whatever else you're willing to pay for. Let a show or film live there exclusively for a certain amount of time, maybe 6 months to a year. And while it can stay there, I think that the last step is possibly the most important and maybe most overlooked. which is the free ad-supported streaming services. I know that there are plenty of these free services right now. Roku and Tubi are probably some of the most well-known. Really, most everything that you'll find on these free services are movies or shows you either have never heard of or don't really care to see. These free services don't have a lot of finances or excitement or marketing behind them, but just imagine a world where the Hollywood studios reach out and actually license some of the high-quality stuff that they have. Yes, this does happen in few and far between situations, but if Disney licensed the Star Wars films to Tubi, Tubi could gain the budget to have a larger marketing campaign that would bring more people to them. Essentially, this creates the same idea of allowing a film to play on TV for free, but the commercials fund the free services and the production companies get paid through the licensing. While a film like Pirates of the Caribbean will live on Disney Plus for as long as Disney wants it to be there, Tubi may only have the exclusive rights for a month or two, so there's incentive for us to either watch it while it's free with advertising or subscribe to Disney Plus so that we can watch it whenever we want. From a viewer standpoint, there are tiers at every level. So if we don't want to pay to go to a theater to see a film, or we just don't know if we really want to see it at all, we can wait 9 months or a year or whatever to see it for free, or rent it for $3 to $5, or subscribe to your favorite streaming service. There are a ton of different options, which keeps consumers happy. On the Hollywood side, it separates a bit of the production and distribution. Yes, there are still the streaming services just like they are now, but it actually elongates the revenue streams, allowing for each different production to gain more money over a longer period of time. And while this is something I've made up, it's based on what's worked in the past, and what worked in the past wasn't broken. So why not tweak that model slightly and go back to it?
Hey Josh, I know you were doing something, but you might want to come take a look at this.
Sorry, Jack, I've got a few things to finish over here. I'll be out there in just a few minutes, okay?
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna like this.
It's Barry. How bad can it be? Anyways, where do we fit into this? How does the audience help out the Hollywood system? Well, at the top and bottom of this tier system. Theaters have struggled in the world since 2020, and understandably so. A ticket to the movies has gone up for most people. There is a risk to spending money on a movie that you aren't 100% sure about. And some theater chains have added a membership tier where $20 a month gets you unlimited viewings. That could be worth it to you, but for a lot of people, it's not, especially when you have a large family that isn't so excited to go see every single movie. Maybe this is my own bias showing, but I'm in favor of theaters more like the Alamo Drafthouse. They play first-run films like all of the other movie theater chains, but they advertise and emphasize when they play classic movies. In fact, they build their entire programming around older movies. Movies you know and would be willing to drop $5 a person to go see. They also do things like Saturday morning cartoon viewings where you go watch a block of cartoons and sit around eating cereal. They have live bands that play in front of music biopics. They do sing-along nights with movie musicals. They also have a bar in the theater, and not that AMC abandoned beer stand that you see, but a proper bar within the building where you don't need to buy a movie ticket to enter. They host trivia nights, pop-up events, Dungeons and Dragons, or it's just a good place to go grab a drink and have dinner with your friends. What Alamo has done has taken the theater and turned it into a third place. A place where you can go and hang out and have fun with your friends, especially people who love movies. By the way, this video, not sponsored by Alamo Drafthouse, but I'm just saying if they want to reach out, they can. I know a lot of people who talk about movies on YouTube are sponsored by organizations like Mubi, but hey, Alamo Drafthouse, I'm here for you. And Alamo isn't the only theater doing these things. Local, smaller theaters often play older films or independent movies at a lower price point, so again, just go find the one that fits you. Another thing that we can do because it's easy and free is to start supporting some of these free ad-based streaming services. They actually have some pretty cool stuff. I mean, have you seen the Weird Al biopic on Roku? Daniel Radcliffe plays Weird Al, and Evan Rachel Wood plays Madonna. It's great. And did you know that Jim Henson had a show in the 80s called The Storyteller, where they retold dark fairy tales and ancient myths with puppets? You can watch it for free right now on Crackle. There are some serious gems on these free services, and by supporting them and sitting through the advertisements, you're giving them the power to license out bigger and better films and TV shows, giving us, as the audience, a chance to see things that are currently being held behind paywalls. I know that I'm personally invested in the world of television and film and entertainment because it's something I love, and I know that it will probably find its way and survive, but this is something that I think about far too often. As somebody who considers themselves an artist, I see the struggle that artists are going through, and I see the struggle that Hollywood is having with both film and television, and that artists are caught between the audience and the studios, and neither seem to be on their side to no fault of their own. A reimagining of the system to keep audiences happy and to financially free up the studios is something that Hollywood desperately needs. And I think that there are clues to what's possible. And while I understand that there will definitely be speed bumps on the road to this new system, I just hope that there aren't that many casualties along the way.
Hey man, you wanna be cool, right? Here's some of the cool stuff I could provide you with, cause I'm real cool. I mean, I don't know how to be cool. Doing drugs is only for cool people like you. So, I'm just a dumb nerd. That's me, a dumb nerd.
Hey guys, I just finished up the video essay. What's going on? Yeah, man. I think you're gonna want to watch this.
Yeah, remember when Barry gave you those bad drugs?
Well, my name is Josh Taylor, and I'm like the nerdiest person you know. I would be nowhere except for Barry. Barry gave me everything. I'm just a dumb little nerd. So, thanks Barry for making me cool. Me, Josh Taylor. Finally cool. Can you believe it? Finally cool.
Is that supposed to be me? That doesn't even look like me. There's this Barry.
Yeah, I think he's using your story for his sketch comedy show.
Wait, Barry got his own comedy show? It's called Barry Funny. That's not even a good name for a show.
I mean, the show got great reviews. It's certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
I guess you're gonna have to talk about this now. Talk about what? How Barry's making fun of me? Because I did drugs one time, alright, and it went bad. And Barry's talking about it in his stupid show. Maybe you just have to show people who you really are, you know? Like that movie with the candy and the go-karts. Hey, it's Editor Josh. I'm just finishing up the video right now, but I wanted to talk about Patreon because we do a bonus podcast to all of these big episodes, and I know that this was a long video, but we go even more in depth talking about streaming, how it's actually benefited some genres, some of the things that we wish that they would do differently, etc. So check that out. It's $5 a month. You get a bunch of cool stuff to go along with it. It helps support us and what we do here. And also check out the playlist for all of the other videos that are in season 2 that have been building to this kind of self-confidence story arc that we've been doing. But in the meantime, thanks for watching and see you later.